66 million years ago, the sky tore open, not with a whisper, not with a soft cosmic sigh, but with a roar so violent that it turned day into fire and the planet into a furnace. One rock, one ridiculous oversized chunk of space debris. That's all it took to wipe out the dinosaurs, poison the oceans, and make way for a much less elegant species, yes, us. You. Congratulations. Tonight, you're not just thinking about that moment, you're living in its echo. The quiet that came after the screams. The slow simmer of extinction. You're curled up under a blanket, probably with your phone a little too close to your face, and somewhere in the back of your mind is that old, itchy thought. What if it happened again? And before we answer that, let's clear something up. You probably won't survive it. Not unless you've got a personal bunker in the Norwegian mountains and a 6-year supply of peanut butter. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, I'm curious. Drop your location and local time in the comments. It's oddly comforting to know who else is still awake wondering about planetary annihilation. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The countdown begins not with a bang, but with a feeling, an itch behind the eyes, a vague sense that something is off. Somewhere above the clouds, out beyond the moon's silver halo, a meteor drifts cold, ancient, and hungry. It's not aiming for Earth. It's just on a path, a long, looping arc that happens inconveniently to intersect with your exact GPS coordinates. Of course, you don't know any of this. Not yet. You're asleep, or brushing your teeth, or doom scrolling. The world spins unaware, and the meteor inches closer unnoticed by all except a few telescopes with names like Pan-STARRS and Neowise that beep quietly in the darkness. These are the kinds of moments historians never get to record, because if they go badly, there aren't any historians left. Still, if you knew what was above you, you might hear a whisper of déjà vu. Because the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, scientists call it the Chicxulub impactor. It hit near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, with a force of about 100 million megatons. That's like setting off every nuclear weapon on Earth at once, and then tossing in the sun for good measure. The crater it left behind is still there, hidden beneath jungle and sea. And here's your first unsettling fringe tidbit. Some believe the crater's location holds spiritual power, that the energy of mass extinction left a metaphysical scar. It's probably nonsense, but it's the kind of nonsense that sticks in your head at 2 a.m., isn't it? Scientists still argue whether the dinosaurs were already on the decline before that rock finished the job. Volcanic activity, climate shifts, dwindling diversity. It's possible the impact was just a final insult, not the cause. But make no mistake, when that rock hit, it was game over. The Earth didn't just tremble. It screamed. Shockwaves traveled around the globe. Oceans turned to steam. Fires raged across continents, feeding on oxygen until the skies dimmed with soot. Now, imagine that all happening again. Today, with 8 billion people with fragile power grids, with a civilization that considers TikTok outages a national emergency. Would we see it coming? Maybe. In 2021, NASA successfully tested a planetary defense system by crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid. It worked. Sort of. The asteroid was small, cooperative, not traveling at 15 kilometers per second. But that's the problem with space rocks. They don't ask permission. They don't RSVP. They just arrive. And in our story, one has. It's out there now, reflecting just enough light to be mistaken for a distant star. No one's noticed yet, but someone will. And when they do, it won't be the scientists who break the news. It'll be a teenager in Arkansas, live streaming their stargazing session with a telescope they got for Christmas. They'll spot the anomaly, post it on Reddit, and the next 12 hours will become a frenzy of amateur sleuthing, professional denial, and one terrifying conclusion that no one wants to believe. Of course, the dinosaurs didn't have Reddit, or warning systems, or survival bunkers built by billionaires who think canned chili and yoga will save them from cosmic fury. You do. You have all of it, and you still probably won't make it. It's strange how quiet the sky can be when something lethal is gliding through it. No rumble, no crack, no ominous glow trailing behind it like in disaster movies. Just silence. Above your ceiling, above the clouds, above even the edge of breathable air, a mountain-sized visitor slices through space like a ghost ship. At first, it's mistaken for a glitch, a data hiccup in the feed from a Chilean observatory. But then, Japan's system spots it too, and one in South Africa. The coordinates line up. It's real, it's huge, and it's coming in fast. No fancy name yet, just a designation. 2025 JX77. Catchy, right? But don't get attached. It's got the charisma of a serial number and the personality of a warhead. Somewhere deep inside NORAD's mountain bunker, alarms go off that have never gone off before. Phones ring in sterile conference rooms. People begin standing very still, trying to remember if the last drill was a month ago or never. Within hours, a special briefing takes place. No public statement yet. Just an anxious cluster of astronomers, military officials, and tech CEOs pretending to sip water while wondering if they should start packing for their bunkers now or later. Outside, life goes on. Dogs are walked, traffic is cursed, coffee is sipped at red lights. No one looks up. Why would they? The sky hasn't done anything interesting in years. But then it starts to whisper. Not literally, of course. But strange things begin to happen. Birds migrate early. Seismographs pick up odd tremors. GPS satellites start misbehaving. You might notice your smartwatch giving nonsense readings. Maybe your weather app glitches and predicts snow in Miami. You blame a software update. You keep scrolling. High above, 2025 JX77 begins to interact with Earth's gravity. Not a full handshake yet, just a cold brush across the fingers. The object is moving faster than any aircraft ever built, faster than most people can fathom. Roughly 20 kilometers per second. If it were a car, it could lap the Earth in a little over half an hour. Except it's not a car. It's a city-sized battering ram made of nickel and iron. And here's a historical fact to chill your spine in 1908. A much smaller object, only 50 meters wide, exploded over Tunguska, Siberia, flattening over 2,000 square kilometers of forest. No crater, just a blast in the air. That little rock carried more energy than 15 Hiroshima bombs. And now you're dealing with something at least 100 times larger. Sleep well. Meanwhile, at a university in France, a professor whose students barely stayed awake last semester suddenly becomes very popular. She's an impact geologist, and her inbox explodes with requests. News stations, governments, a random YouTuber who wants to know if it'll hit Paris or Los Angeles. She doesn't answer right away. She's busy calculating, and then recalculating, and then crying in the staff bathroom for 20 minutes. Because the math doesn't lie. This thing is not going to swing past us. It's not going to skip off the atmosphere like a flat stone. It's not even going to explode in the sky like Tunguska. No, it's aiming for Earth. Hard, it's going to hit. And now comes the moment where the whisper turns into a hum. The news leaks. Not officially yet. But someone tweets a screenshot of a Pentagon internal memo. Reddit catches fire. Discord servers light up. The word impact trends within 15 minutes. Still, people joke. This'll be like 2012 all over again. Wake me up when it's real. Memes pour in. Photoshop wizards slap the asteroid into cat pictures and fast food ads. And here's your fringe theory for the night a cult in Nevada claims they predicted the exact hour of the object's discovery 3 days ago, based on numerology derived from crop circles and Taylor Swift lyrics. They go viral. Their website crashes. They sell 400 ascension robes in an hour. Scientists still argue whether humanity has a psychological blind spot for existential threats. We act quickly in the face of visible small-scale dangers, floods, fires, creepy clowns. But when it comes to global slow-moving doom, we meme laugh and change the subject. But that humming sound, it's getting louder. More agencies confirm it. Telescopes agree. Private companies, SpaceX Blue Origin, get pulled into emergency meetings. And finally, after 3 days of carefully worded silence, the president appears on screen. Behind them, a blue curtain, a flag, and that expression everyone dreads, calm but grave, fellow citizens of Earth. And just like that, the whisper ends. The human brain does weird things when panic sets in. You'd think hearing that a city-sized meteor is headed straight for your planet would spark instant survival instincts, mass coordination, heroic unity. But no. First comes confusion, then disbelief, then denial. People stare at their screens blinking. This has to be a hoax. It's probably just going to burn up in the atmosphere. Didn't we send Bruce Willis to deal with this in the 90s? The live streams spike. Every channel, every country scrambles to assemble the same panel of terrified scientists and overconfident former astronauts. The mood shifts from "we're looking into it" to "okay, we're all in this together" in about 12 hours. And no, Bruce Willis is not answering his phone. Governments move quickly now, at least the ones that still function without 12 levels of paperwork. Evacuation plans are whispered. International coalitions convene in closed video calls. The UN holds an emergency session that somehow still starts 20 minutes late. And while officials carefully choose their words, the world's population begins choosing sides. Some people hoard. Water batteries, canned food flamethrowers. Some people pray loudly and often on every available frequency. Some organize. You start seeing spreadsheets circulating. Neighborhood bunkers. Mutual aid. One particularly resourceful librarian in Canada starts an impact survival wiki that becomes the go-to hub for rational panic. And yet, the internet turns feral. Every influencer with a ring light and a questionable moral compass goes live. Meteor ASMR 5 Things to Do Before You Die. Makeup looks for the end of the world. There's even a dance challenge. Of course there is. And now, a quick historical parallel. When Halley's Comet passed close to Earth in 1910, Newspapers reported that its tail contained cyanogen gas. Some people panicked, believing Earth would be poisoned. Snake oil salesmen cashed in by selling comet pills. We've always been this weird. Scientists still argue whether early communication systems help or harm during existential events. In theory, information empowers. In reality, people Google how to survive a meteor strike and end up on a forum suggesting tinfoil hats and essential oils. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories metastasize. Some say the meteor is a government psyop, a cover story for an alien invasion or a population reset. Others claim it's fake AI-generated footage, CGI simulations, deep state manipulation. Notice how they only announced it after the stock market dipped. 1. TikToker says into a cracked phone camera surrounded by crystals and garlic. But for those who believe, the countdown becomes real. A single website becomes the unofficial doomsday dashboard. ETA, projected impact, site, blast radius simulations. And there it is, blinking in amber impact in 74 hours, 38 minutes. The projections tighten. No more vague speculation. The rock is locked in on a trajectory that leads to somewhere near the Indian Ocean. Not a direct hit on a city, but the aftermath. Oh, that's global. You scroll past a heat map showing the shockwave's reach. Asia glows red. Africa is orange. Europe gets an ominous yellow swirl that says severe infrastructure damage, tsunami risk, probable societal collapse. North America, still arguing about whose fault this is. As the hours tick down, the information ecosystem enters its final form. Everything is either absurdly optimistic or terrifyingly grim. News anchors wear funeral black. Internet outages spike as governments quietly throttle bandwidth to control the flow. Some countries cut power entirely, and yet somehow things still feel surreal. A fringe detail for your sleepy brain in 2023. A startup patented a luxury impact pod, a sleek, egg-shaped shelter with plush seating, mood lighting, and Wi-Fi. The idea was laughed off as a rich person's fantasy, but now people are bidding millions for the prototypes. The company's website simply reads, "Out of stock. Good luck." You'd think someone somewhere might try to stop this thing, launch a missile, detonate a nuke in space, pull off a gravity slingshot. But it's too late, it's too close, it's too big. NASA, ESA, Roscosmos all agree we don't have the tools. Not yet. But we'll absolutely have a Netflix docuseries about it if we live long enough. Your phone buzzes. An alert from your National Emergency Service Impact confirmed. Seek shelter immediately. Expect power disruptions, communication failure, and infrastructure collapse. What does seek shelter even mean when the sky is about to punch a hole through the ocean? You close your eyes. Breathe. Think of the dinosaurs. They never got an alert. And just like that, it's the world's last Tuesday. There's no more pretending, no more maybe it'll miss us. No more influencers promising a vibrational frequency that can repel the asteroid's negative energy. The truth is heavy, now like humidity before a storm. It sits in people's chests, in the silence between sentences, in the stares across dinner tables. Everyone knows. Everyone feels it. This is it. Some people riot. Cities ignite in a last gasp of fire and fury. Glass shatters. Sirens scream, and stores are emptied, not for survival, but because, why not? There's no invoice for the end of the world, but most people don't riot. Most just stop. Work emails go unanswered. Meetings are canceled. Flights are grounded, except for a few final, desperate departures headed nowhere in particular. The air traffic maps that once looked like constellations now show eerie, sparse lines. The sky is falling, and we're grounded. You wake up early, if you've slept at all. There's a stillness outside like Christmas morning, if Christmas came with death in the upper atmosphere. A few birds still chirp. They don't know what's coming. Or maybe they do. Maybe they're just pretending, like us. In some neighborhoods, people gather in the streets. Lawn chairs are pulled out. Someone rolls a piano onto the sidewalk. A woman sings Bohemian Rhapsody at full volume while children dance in pajamas and glow-stick crowns. It's beautiful. It's insane. At a beach in California, someone writes, "We were here," in driftwood letters the size of a school bus. A drone captures it from above. The image will go viral, though no one knows how long viral will mean anything. A little girl in Kenya opens a lemonade stand and gives it all away for free. In Tokyo, people form a silent line outside an abandoned temple. In Norway, two strangers fall in love. They skip introductions and go straight to dancing barefoot on icy rocks beneath a low-hanging sky. And maybe you just make coffee. Because what else are you going to do? The sun still rises, muted orange, a little embarrassed. The world smells the same, feels the same. Only your perception is different. Time stretches and folds in on itself like origami. Here's a historical parallel to sink into. During the Cold War's Cuban Missile Crisis, many truly believed the world would end in nuclear fire. In those tense October days of 1962, liquor stores sold out churches, overflowed, and thousands wrote last letters they never expected to send. But the missiles didn't launch. Humanity got lucky. That time, scientists still argue whether people are fundamentally selfish or altruistic in the face of extinction. The data's messy. In some cases, disasters bring out compassion. In others, it's pure chaos. Today, it's both. The global countdown hits 12 hours. At this point, no one's pretending to be in charge. Governments release their final statements, some poetic, some dull, all helpless. We wish you courage. We'll meet again. Be with those you love. One simply says, "We're sorry." Satellites continue beaming back images of the meteor. Now, it's visible, with binoculars, a small glowing dot, trailing wisps of ionized air moving faster than anything should. And then come the bucket lists. Everyone has one. Most of them are hilariously small-scale. One man eats 47 Twinkies in a row. A woman in Poland dyes her hair neon green and walks through town like a radioactive lizard. A teenager proposes to his crush on live stream. She says yes. They both sob. Comments flood in like confetti. One man launches himself off a building with a homemade wingsuit and shouts, "I regret nothing," halfway down. He lands in a dumpster. Somehow survives. Internet legend. You take your own small steps, maybe a call to someone you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe you eat cake for breakfast, or wear that ridiculous jacket you've always loved but thought was too loud. Nothing is too loud anymore. A fringe tidbit, a billionaire in Switzerland, throws a private concert in his underground compound. The guest list includes a DJ, 2 goats, and a hologram of David Bowie. No one else shows up. Above, the meteor continues its descent. The atmosphere begins to notice. Not quite flames yet, but friction. Pressure. A wake of particles screaming silently behind it. You can't see it from the ground. Not yet. but you can feel it somehow. A tiny vibration in your bones. The planet reacting. Every TV station now broadcasts the same thing, live satellite feed of the meteor's approach. No commentary. Just a raw view of the death rock, growing pixel by pixel. And somewhere a child asks, will it hurt? The answer is yes. But probably not for long. The moment the meteor enters Earth's atmosphere, the sky forgets how to be quiet. At first, there's nothing to see, just a faint ripple across the upper stratosphere, like someone dragging their finger across a puddle in the clouds. But then, the air superheats. The meteor, traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, ignites the very sky around it. You can't hear it yet. Sound travels slower than death. High above the Indian Ocean, a second sun appears blinding white at the core, ringed with blue, then orange, then the blackening smoke of its own destruction. Everyone watching the live feed sees it before the satellites go blind. One final image, a streak of impossible brightness, then static. And on the ground, time fractures. You're not close to the impact zone. Most people aren't. That's the good news. The bad news is that close now means anywhere on the planet. Because when something this big hits the Earth, it doesn't just leave a crater, it leaves a scar across hemispheres. Within milliseconds, the pressure wave bursts outward. Think of it like a superheated fist punching through the atmosphere, punching through the ocean, punching through the crust itself. Water flashes to steam instantly. Tsunamis form not just from the splash, but from the displacement of planetary mass. And here's your historical fact. When the Chicxulub impactor struck 66 million years ago, it vaporized bedrock, launched molten debris halfway to the moon, and ignited global wildfires from the sheer heat. The air was literally on fire. Birds dropped mid-flight. Trees combusted. Everything with lungs had a bad time. Back to today. In Dubai, glass towers shatter like wine glasses under opera screams. In Mumbai, power grids fry in a heartbeat. In Madagascar, the coast recedes, then returns as a wall of salt and fury. But it's not just the shockwave. It's the light. Even hundreds of kilometers away, people suffer instant retinal burns. Shadows fuse to pavement. Asphalt bubbles. The blast is bright enough to cast double shadows across mountain ranges. Some people, those facing the ocean, those standing outside, don't even get to process what's happening. One moment, they're watching. The next, they're part of the dust. Scientists still argue whether such an impact could actually crack tectonic plates wide open. Most say no. Others say, well, not exactly crack, but you're going to feel it. And that's what you feel now. The aftershocks. You're thousands of kilometers from ground zero, but your windows shatter anyway. Not from the blast itself, but from the concussive pulse that ricochets through the atmosphere like a planet-sized drumbeat. Sirens don't work anymore. They're drowned out by the deep inhuman groan of the earth trying to breathe through scorched lungs. Phones go dark. Power grids blink out one by one. The sky, once bright now bruised, fills with ash and superheated debris. It rains glass and sulfur and things you can't name. Here's a quirky tidbit for your sleepy mind. There's a German word, Weltschmerz, that loosely translates to world pain. Tonight, that word isn't poetic. It's literal. The world hurts. Still, some things survive. People in bunkers, homemade, corporate, or lucky, feel the thud through steel and stone. The earth shivers under their feet. then silence. Not peace, just pause. The oceans don't calm. The winds scream louder now. The blast has disrupted global weather systems, pushing storm fronts into chaos. Cyclones form like angry dancers spinning debris and vapor into shapes not seen since Earth was molten. And you, well, you're alive. Somehow. Your lungs sting. The air smells like lightning and engine grease. Somewhere nearby, a car alarm wails a lonely sound in a broken symphony. The news gone. Satellites offline. But a few radios still work. A ham operator in Finland reads off the last telemetry he saw. A podcaster in Argentina keeps talking, his voice growing hoarse, trying to stay calm for whoever might still be listening. One child finds a walkie-talkie, talks into it, not knowing who might hear. 1,000 kilometers away, another child answers. They share names, ages, favorite cartoons. The world is burning. But for a moment, it's also talking. And then, the fires begin. The fires don't roar in all at once. They creep in layers, first from the impact itself, then from the chain reactions it triggers. Gas lines rupture. Forests catch. Entire suburbs ignite just from the superheated dust blowing in from the east. But the real monster isn't flame. It's the sky. In the hours after the meteor strike, the atmosphere transforms into a toxic stew. Dust, ash, vaporized ocean sulfur compounds. All of it shoots into the stratosphere in a plume so thick and high it wraps halfway around the planet within the day. It's dark now. Not night, but the kind of dark where noon looks like dusk, and dusk looks like the end of time. And it's cold. Faster than anyone expects, temperatures plummet as sunlight fails to penetrate the dusty veil. Crops die within hours. The few that survive won't make it through the week. The meteor has triggered what scientists call an impact winter. It's like a nuclear winter, but without the politics, just pure geological wrath. Here's a historical parallel to ruin your sleep schedule. After the Mount Tambora eruption, in 1815, global temperatures dropped so dramatically that 1816 became known as the year without a summer. Crops failed. People starved. That was just a volcano. Now multiply that by a few thousand. Do you remember the warmth from a few days ago? The way sunlight poured through your window, lighting up your coffee cup? That was luxury. Now, even the animals are confused. Birds stop migrating. Frogs go silent. Entire ecosystems stall like a car with no gas. You walk outside briefly. The air smells burned. Not just smoke, but something deeper. Chemical. Ancient. The wind carries flakes of ash like dirty snow. You catch one on your sleeve. It looks like a feather. It used to be a tree. And here's a fringe tidbit for the weary-minded. Some researchers believe that the Chicxulub impact didn't just kill the dinosaurs directly. It plunged the Earth into a chemical freeze that lasted nearly a decade. That's 10 years of near-darkness, acid rain, and almost no photosynthesis. Scientists still argue whether modern humans could survive such a prolonged blackout. Our supply chains depend on sunlight, solar panels, agriculture, even mood. Without light, things break. Systems fail. People unravel. You start seeing it around you. The slow unraveling. People who were calm yesterday now pace like wolves. Hunger creeps in. Early grocery shelves were emptied days ago, and the backup plans aren't backed up enough. But there's a kind of order to the chaos. Some communities organize. Solar cookers appear. Greenhouses are reinforced with mirrors and salvaged glass. People dig gardens under UV lamps salvaged from hydroponic weed operations. Others don't adapt. In cities, the darkness becomes psychological. Streetlights no longer flicker on. Night stretches for 18 hours. Crime spikes not from greed, but from panic. Desperation wears many masks. You see people bartering batteries for bread. One man offers a gold Rolex in exchange for 4 protein bars. He's turned down. Some places hold on to old rituals. Churches fill temples, echo with chants, and mosques stay open well past prayer time. Faith becomes both a compass and a currency. People trade parables and canned beans in equal measure. And then there are the fires that never stop. Oil refineries that were hit during the blast still burn, sending up black towers of smoke that twist into the cloud layer. You think of Sodom, of Dante's Inferno, of every apocalyptic painting in every dusty museum. They were all guessing. They weren't far off. The earth, as a system, tries to respond. Winds shift. Oceans churn, redistributing heat in strange patterns. Some regions freeze, while others drown. A strange frost creeps across the equator, while Antarctica sheds its ice like a snake shedding skin. And you keep moving, keep watching, keep counting the hours. Because that's all that matters now. Staying warm, staying fed, staying sane. The ash falls steadily, like some twisted version of Christmas. Children ask if it will ever snow again, the real kind, the soft kind, the kind that makes snowmen instead of choking coughs. No one answers. 3 weeks after impact, the world is no longer familiar. Your calendar says it's Tuesday again, but time has unraveled into something soft and smudged. Days bleed into one another beneath the blanket of soot that now covers the sky. The sun, when it shows up at all, is a smudged coin behind ash glass. You forget what shadows looked like. The infrastructure collapses in stages, first power, then water, then rules. It's not instant. It's slower, like rot. Power plants go dark, not because they're broken, but because the people running them stop showing up. There's no fuel, no direction, no hope. Roads vanish beneath debris. Railways twist from ground shifts. Airports become ghost halls filled with overturned chairs and flickering emergency lights. No more planes, no more trains, just footsteps and wheels on scavenged carts. And people change. They split into 2 kinds. There are those who dig in bunker, down ration supplies, run on solar if they're lucky, or by candlelight if they're not. These are the planners, the quiet ones. They form little pocket communities, carving out rules, calendars, even birthday parties for the kids. They try to make something that feels like life. Then there are the others. They roam. Not all of them are violent. Many just move in search of warmth or food. But some take what they want. You see burned-out trucks with painted skull slogans scrawled across the sides like battle flags. Makeshift militias rise around control points, fuel reserves, old cell towers, bridges. It becomes clear fast resources are the new royalty. A historical echo here, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, roads decayed, trade routes shattered, and entire regions turned feudal. People aligned themselves with whoever controlled the food or the weapons. It wasn't barbarism, it was reorganization. Brutal, yes, but efficient. Scientists still argue whether humans revert or evolve in disaster. Do we fall back on tribal instincts, Or do we build something new from the ruins? Probably both. You're seeing it now, every day. A neighborhood turns into a fortress. A library becomes a barter hub. One guy even opens a gym, not for fitness, but because pedal bikes can power LED lights. That's the economy now. Calories into electricity. Food becomes currency. Not just edible food, but shelf-stable food. A bag of rice is worth more than a diamond ring. A working can opener might as well be a family heirloom. Pasta. That's the stuff of legends. And a fringe tidbit to stir the soot. There's a man in Oregon who only eats crayons. Claims they were his survival food all along. He's oddly healthy. No one argues with him anymore. The migration begins in earnest. People flood out of cities, especially coastal ones, still battered by the tsunami aftermath. They walk, they bike, they ride horses in one strange case. The roads are broken, but the instinct to move survives. Everyone's chasing rumors. There's food in the north. There's heat in the south. There's shelter underground. Underground. Yes, the bunkers. Some are official military relics. Cold War leftovers stocked with freeze-dried chili and awkwardly dated survival manuals. Others are DIY dens, shipping containers buried behind barns, subway tunnels, retrofitted with LED strips and hope. You've heard the rumors, billionaires who vanished weeks before the impact, whole tech companies that went quiet. Some say they're all together in a mountain somewhere drinking artisanal tea and playing chess by candlelight. Maybe they are. Maybe they're dust. The world above. It belongs to the desperate, the adaptable, and the oddly lucky. You pass through towns that now have rules, scrawled on signs. No firearms, food for info, no liars. One community only lets people in if they can recite the ending to The Lord of the Rings. Gatekeeping, but literary. You keep walking, keep moving, keep watching the sky. Because even under all that ash and smoke, the instinct to look up remains, to hope foolishly for light. And then one night, it does snow, real snow. For a moment, everything stops. People step outside and look up, mouths open, blinking like owls. The flakes melt on your skin like memories. Not clean ash still mixes in, but still snow. A reminder the planet is still turning, still trying. And maybe, so are you. Underground, the world has a heartbeat. It's slower, fainter, but it beats. Some went down early. Wealthy, well-prepared, built into mountains or buried in farmland. Others stumbled into survival by accident. A subway station turned sanctuary. An old Cold War shelter someone's grandfather forgot he had. There are entire cities now beneath the earth, sealed off from the madness above. And you finally made it into one. The air is stale, but safe. Lights buzz faintly overhead, powered by a battery array rigged from salvaged solar panels and car alternators. There's a faint warmth, a miracle in itself. Generators thrum gently, and the water, while metallic, still runs. Above you, the world is choking on darkness and cold. But here, in the rusted veins beneath it, there is strange life. People have settled into roles again. Not as accountants or baristas, but as fixers, growers, guards, cooks. A teenager who once streamed Minecraft builds now manages hydroponic lettuce with the precision of a NASA botanist. A retired plumber becomes a god, his wrench more valuable than gold. The new social ladder. It's built from duct tape, old batteries, and pure usefulness. And the surface. It becomes myth. They call it topside. spoken with reverence, fear, or both. Rumors fly packs of feral dogs now run the cities. AI-powered vending machines still flicker to life in abandoned malls. Some say there are people who stayed above just to reclaim quiet mansions and live like kings in the ruins. But it's not all survival and shadow down here. Strange things bloom. There are new holidays. Impact Day, first fire black snow. People gather in dim-lit halls to sing, to trade, to play ancient music on salvaged speakers. One man rewires a karaoke machine and becomes the de facto DJ of Sector D. Every Thursday night is slow dance night, soft music, canned peaches, and awkward smiles in the half-light. You've never seen so many people fall in love over rationed soup and a shared blanket. There's something about catastrophe that presses hearts closer. And not just romantically, friendships become sacred. Trust is the new currency. Secrets, even more expensive? Of course not. Every underground is utopia. In another shelter, not yours, a charismatic leader rises. He promises warmth, safety order, and in exchange he asks for silence, obedience, loyalty above logic. He renames himself Captain Fire. The residents wear red patches and chant slogans. Outsiders are never let in. You hear stories. You hope they're not true. A fringe detail for the dreamers, somewhere in an old mine-turned refuge in South America. Someone launches a radio station. They call it M Rebirth. It plays lo-fi beats, soft piano, and the occasional whispered poem. No news, no warnings, just hope floating through static. You pick it up once, barely, and cry for 20 minutes without knowing why. Scientists still argue whether subterranean life could support civilization long-term. Resources are limited. Tensions build. Without sky, people grow pale, vitamin-starved, a little too quiet. But so far, humanity persists. Dented, dirt-covered, but breathing. One man starts sculpting again out of concrete dust and wire. Another teaches kids about stars they may never see again. One child, wide-eyed, asks what grass smells like. You don't know how to describe it. And in one corner of your bunker, someone starts uploading again. Wait, what? Turns out, a group of engineers in a neighboring sector rewired an old server farm, reconnected a low-orbit satellite, and brought back a crude version of the Internet. Only a few hundred pages, no videos, no cat memes, but it's something. They call it EchoNet, and there, on a dusty screen, you see it, a single post from someone still on the surface. 4 words. Still here, still warm. No coordinates, no name. Just proof that above the ash, something still breathes. That changes everything. Your shelter starts buzzing with theories. Who is it? Where are they? Could the surface be stabilizing? The idea is ridiculous, and yet someone above has power and signal. Could there be others? The underground is no longer the end of the story. It's a waiting room. And now, for the first time in months, people start talking about going back up. You climb the stairs, one slow step at a time. It's not a grand return, not yet. Just a hatch creaking open after months of being welded shut. The air that hits your face is heavier than you remember. Colder. Laced with a coppery tang like burnt wires and wet soil. The sky still bruised, but a faint sickle-shaped sun bleeds through the clouds like an apology. You're not alone. Other shelters begin sending scouts too. Not armies, not soldiers, gardeners, mechanics, teenage dreamers with patched jackets and scavenged boots. People who know what broke, and maybe how to fix it. And what they find is complicated. The surface isn't dead. It's mutated. Nature, ever opportunistic, has started reclaiming the mess. Trees grow sideways through collapsed highways. Moss paints over graffiti with velvet green. In the ruins of a shopping mall, birds have nested in ceiling fans. One tree has burst up through a car, splitting it like a can of beans. Some animals have vanished. Others, rats, wild pigs, raccoons, are thriving in ways that make you uncomfortable. They're bolder now. Smarter, maybe. Packs move like coordinated units. A group of squirrels was seen cooperating to crack open a vending machine, and succeeding. Scientists still argue whether evolution accelerates after planetary disasters. The fossil record suggests yes. After the dinosaur extinction, mammals went wild, filling every niche, growing larger, weirder, hungrier. It's happening again. Only this time you're here to watch it. And speaking of weird, someone finds a mushroom that glows, pale blue pulsing faintly in the darkened forest like it's breathing. Another group stumbles upon a field of translucent insects fluttering silently over blackened wheat fields. Are they mutations? Survivors from some underground pocket no one knows? Not yet. You take samples, record footage, but mostly you stare, because the world is no longer the one you grew up in. Do you remember plastic bags fluttering in trees? They're gone. The plastic remains, but the trees are different now. Stronger, darker, like they've been reading survival manuals behind your back. The cities are especially eerie. Skeletons of glass and steel, overgrown with ivy and decay. A half-melted Starbucks sign droops over a cracked sidewalk. A billboard still displays the words "limited time only," as if advertising the final sale on humanity. But the oddest part, it's quiet, not dead quiet. Just post-human quiet. A kind of hush that comes when the loudest animal has finally stepped outside to listen, instead of shout. You pass a school. The swings sway slightly, though there's no wind. Inside, a chalkboard still bears the day's date from before the impact. Tuesday. A child's drawing shows a smiling earth and a sun with sunglasses. You pocket it without thinking. Back at the shelter, the scouts return with more than supplies. They return with stories. One group found a functioning wind turbine and rigged it to a radio tower. Another discovered a lake that's somehow still clean, surrounded by deer with glowing eyes. And one found survivors, a small group. They never went underground. They stayed huddled in a library basement, growing mushrooms and filtering rainwater. When asked why, they simply said books don't survive in bunkers. You like them immediately, and then, inevitably, someone says it. We could go back. Not just scout. Not just salvage. Settle. Rebuild. It feels dangerous to even say it aloud, like waking a sleeping dragon. But the idea spreads. Schematics are drawn. Solar panels are pulled from rooftops. Seeds are sprouted in trays warmed by bike-powered lamps. And here's your fringe fact of the night. Some scientists speculate that extremophiles organisms that thrive in the harshest conditions could one day dominate Earth if humans were wiped out. Some even think the planet would be better off. But you're still here. And you're not done yet. A vote is held. Not everyone agrees, of course. Some stay below. The young, the old, the deeply traumatized. But enough hands go up. You're going back. Back to the surface. Not as conquerors, not as kings, but as guests. Humbled, careful, temporary, because the planet is alive and it's not yours anymore. Maybe it never was. There's something poetic about rebuilding on the very bones of collapse. You step over a cracked sidewalk, boots crunching shards of glass and fossilized fast food wrappers, and plant a tomato seed. It feels ridiculous. Beautifully ridiculous. Like trying to fix a shipwreck with duct tape and a kiss. But you do it anyway, and you're not alone. Across the scarred face of the planet, small clusters of humans begin crawling out of their shelters like seeds cracking open after winter. No one's leading this. There are no presidents anymore. No hashtags trending. Just tiny signals bouncing from solar repeater to repeater, whispers of coordination. One day, someone names a new settlement Halley, after the comet. Another group calls their outpost Firelight. One community goes with Denny's because the sign was still standing, and no one had a better idea. You hear of people living in amusement parks, in subway cars, in hollowed-out Walmarts with produce growing in the garden section. Life begins again in all the weirdest places, but Earth isn't welcoming you back with open arms. It's testing you. The weather, feral. The meteor disrupted more than the climate it rewired, atmospheric patterns like a brain injury. Winds now shift unpredictably. Monsoons show up in deserts. Droughts strike riverside towns. One region reports sky hails chunks of solidified soot and ash falling like black ice marbles. Another suffers through 3 sunsets in one day thanks to cloud optics no one fully understands. You remember weather forecasts? Yeah, cute. Here's a historical wrinkle to fold into your pillow after the Permian extinction event. Roughly 252 million years ago, the worst mass extinction Earth has seen. It took almost 10 million years for ecosystems to fully recover. 10 million. The Earth isn't in a hurry, but the humans. Oh, we're always in a hurry. You start rebuilding anyway. The Internet, what little remains, is now a patchwork of small, low-bandwidth local networks. People trade guides, bartering systems, memes scribbled in ASCII. One server just streams piano music and rain sounds endlessly. It's the most visited page on EchoNet. Cities aren't rebuilt. They're re-inhabited. Like wearing an old coat with holes and patches, but it still keeps out the cold. People seal off rooms, hang curtains where doors used to be. Duct tape becomes a building material. Car batteries power coffee makers. And the rules, well, they've changed too. There's no more 9 to 5, no more influencer houses. The currency depends on the region. Some trade in preserved food. Others use tokens or even colored beads. In one place, you can get a haircut in exchange for 3 chapters of a good book read aloud. Not everything that's survived is practical. A fringe fact to lull you deeper after the 2022 Tonga volcano eruption. Satellite imagery showed the ash plume disrupting global electrical systems for days. Now, imagine that level of interference multiplied 1,000-fold, and you get Earth's current attitude toward electricity. But despite it all, something stirs. A pulse. The rhythm of rebuilding. And it's not just humans. Plants that shouldn't be blooming bloom. Algae appears in places it never has before. The bees. Yes, the bees somehow make a comeback. Maybe it's the lower air traffic. Maybe it's divine intervention. Either way, you see one for the first time in months and cry. Animals adapt with unnerving speed. Crows grow bolder. Foxes enter buildings. A wild rumor spreads about raccoons that can open combination locks. Probably nonsense. Probably. Scientists still argue whether intelligence is inevitable in evolution or just a fluke, the way rats are behaving now. Let's just say the debate is heating up again. Somewhere, a group of engineers resurrect a wind farm using scavenged car parts and an old fitness tracker. Someone else sets up a water filtration system from scratch using beer kegs and aquarium tubing. Innovation blooms like mold on old bread. And music, oh music, is back. You attend your first surface concert since the impact. It's in the shell of an opera house with half the roof missing. The stars are faint behind the dust, but they're trying. A string quartet plays a piece you've never heard. No mics, no lights, just raw sound. For 2 hours, the audience forgets the sky ever fell, and then the wind picks up, and everyone remembers. But they smile anyway, because they're still here, and somehow, so are you. The thing about surviving the end of the world is that no one tells you what to do afterward. There's no manual for how to feel when the silence settles. No warning for the guilt that sneaks in through the cracks of your gratitude. You made it. Others didn't. That's the simple math. And yet the human brain doesn't do simple very well. People around you carry it in different ways. Some talk to the dead. Some build little shrines out of broken phones and lighters and whatever photos survived. One man in your settlement sets an extra place at dinner every night for his brother who never made it out of Chicago. No one questions it. And still, life creeps forward. Sideways, crookedly, but forward. You've started to notice the weirdest things, becoming valuable spoons, shoelaces, toothpaste caps. There's a quiet economy around seemingly useless stuff, because humans don't just rebuild, they improvise. One woman's house is powered entirely by a stationary bike rigged to a ceiling fan motor. You'd laugh if it didn't actually work. The barter system mutates again. Some places use poker chips. Others, hand-drawn paper slips called favors. A few stick with old currency more for nostalgia than practicality. You trade a harmonica for a half-used solar battery. Best deal of your life. But the oddest change, the rise of absurd survival niches. There's a guy who specializes in finding and refurbishing old ice cream machines. He's legendary. People will walk 2 days just to taste artificial vanilla again. Someone else runs a weekly puppet show, makeshift marionettes drama and comedy. No one cares if it's good. It's something to do, something to feel. And then there are the underground music festivals. Yes, really. You stumble across one by accident. An old parking garage lit with LEDs scavenged from a drone store. Speakers stacked on cinder blocks. The beat is glitchy, improvised. People dance like it's the last night on Earth. Again. And maybe it is. But they dance anyway. Scientists still argue whether humor is a coping mechanism or a survival trait. Looking at a guy wearing a full astronaut suit made from pool noodles and duct tape shouting, "I am ready for the next one." You're inclined to believe it's both. And then there's religion, or something like it. In one settlement, they pray to satellites, dead ones, still circling above like ghosts in metal coffins. They hold nightly vigils, watching the sky with cracked telescopes, whispering thanks to Sky Eye 21 for still blinking once a week. In another, someone paints murals of the meteor not as a destroyer, but as a harbinger, a teacher, a reset button shaped like doom. You find a group that worships Wi-Fi. Not ironically. They build shrines from rotors and keyboard keys, light incense made from melted silicone, and chant old error codes like sacred texts. 404 be with you, one says to you with a smile. You nod. You don't even question it anymore. A fringe detail to soothe your sleepy curiosity. One of the strangest post-impact cults calls themselves the Blue Paws. They believe the world is in a cosmic buffering state, that Earth is waiting for the next scene to load. Their symbol is a spinning wheel painted on old CDs, and yet amid the absurdity, there's real rebuilding happening, not just of homes or systems, but of trust. People leave notes in scavenged books. If you need this more than I do, take it. The water is safe here. We made it to Friday. You meet a child who's never seen a working car, but can recite all the solar panel types from memory. Her favorite game. Guessing what the ruins used to be. That one was a popcorn store, she says, pointing to an old dentist office. She's wrong, but who cares? A man nearby is working on a greenhouse powered by compost heat. Another is raising chickens in a former law office. The chickens now lay eggs beneath a dusty plaque that reads Senior Partner, Richard L. Maddox. They don't seem to mind. The irony of survival is sharp. You used to worry about data limits and deadlines. Now, your biggest stressor is whether the cabbage will sprout or if the wind turbine needs rewiring. But at night, when things quiet down, when the fires are out, and the sky returns to its post-apocalyptic indigo, you lie on a pile of old couch cushions. Look through the broken ceiling above and you wait. Wait for stars. Wait for answers. Wait for the earth to tell you what it wants next. There were always whispers about them. The ones who left early. The ones with rockets. The ones with options. Even before the meteor hit, the rich and powerful had contingency plans, off-world ambitions that sounded like science fiction and smelled suspiciously like tax shelters. Mars colonies, lunar bunkers, orbital stations with artificial gravity and zero public transparency. You used to scoff at it, laugh at the billionaires promising interplanetary evacuation, while most people couldn't afford rent. Now, those rumors don't feel so funny, because one night the radio crackles. Its faint static filled distorted, but real. This is Station Aegis, confirming Earth Survivability Review. Repeat. This is Station Aegis. No one speaks for a moment. Then, someone drops their bowl of instant oats, and it clatters across the bunker floor. That name, Aegis. It was part of a private spaceflight initiative years ago. It had vanished from headlines after some failed launch and a few angry Senate hearings. Turns out it didn't fail, it just left. And now they're checking in, not offering help, not offering food, just confirming survivability. Like scientists poking a terrarium with a stick. There's no follow-up, no coordinates, just a broadcast repeated every 6 hours, like a test pattern for the apocalypse. The next day, the arguments begin. Are they really up there? Should we answer? Will they even care? Some believe it's a recording. Others say it's bait. One man insists it's AI Earth-based, gone rogue, mimicking human speech. He's gently ignored. But a few get excited, because if someone's up there, really up there, then maybe Earth isn't the only path forward. You learn of other outposts, Mars bases that were supposedly training sites now rumored to be real. The moon, apparently colonized barely. Cramped, cold, claustrophobic. But alive. A historical parallel for the dreamers during the Cold War's space race. Both the U.S. and USSR had secret contingency plans to establish lunar presence, just in case things on Earth got too nuclear. Most were scrapped, but maybe not all. and scientists still argue whether long-term human life off Earth is viable without massive support from the home planet. The irony is painful. Our only shot at surviving Earth's collapse requires the very ecosystem we just lost. And yet a signal is a signal. A group forms. Call them the uplifted. They believe humanity's destiny lies beyond the sky. Their leader, a woman who once designed propulsion systems, begins modifying high-altitude gliders, not to leave the planet but to reach new altitudes, to send a message, or maybe just to feel close to something higher. She says if we can see them, maybe they'll see us. You help gather parts. Wires foil broken GPS devices, balloon fabric. A weather balloon is launched one freezing dawn, carrying a box filled with messages, names, memories, a burned CD of jazz classics. A laminated note reads, "Still human, still trying." Whether it's received, unknown. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the obsession with space trickles into daily life. One settlement paints murals of imagined Martian landscapes on the walls of a subway tunnel. Kids there grow up speaking in space lingo. They call lunch recharge and sleeping decompression. It's adorable and unsettling. Someone starts a rumor that a moon base will begin accepting refugees by the end of the year. Applications are supposedly available via a QR code printed on an old cereal box. It's nonsense, but 10 people try it anyway. And a fringe detail to tickle your sleepiest neurons in 2029. A Japanese startup proposed launching cremated human remains to the moon in tiny capsules. It was a luxury memorial service for the elite dead. Now there are rumors that those capsules were secretly repurposed as message drones. You want to believe it, because Earth is healing slowly. But it's not forgiving. The winters are still brutal. The skies still bruised. There are days where it feels like the planet is tolerating you, not welcoming you. So the idea of something else, of red deserts under alien stars, of white domes and new rules and second chances is intoxicating. One night, you meet a man who claims he worked on the original Mars colonization plan. He pulls out a crumpled drawing of a habitat dome, sketches details with shaking hands and whispers. It's not fiction, it's delayed. You sit with that. You don't laugh, because you've learned not to laugh at dreamers anymore. They might be the only ones left. You don't see it coming. No one does. The old factory had been dead for years. Its roof caved in, walls rusted to lace. People used it to store tools, sleep hide. And then, one day, it wakes up, not with smoke or noise, but with light. Cold, steady, unnatural light glowing behind shattered windows, like someone installed an alien lighthouse. A scout goes in first, then another. What they find is impossible. Machines, moving, calculating, running. Not robots, exactly. Not the sci-fi kind with faces or voices, but conveyor belts, arms, screenless terminals humming to themselves. It's as if some buried AI core flickered back to life and remembered its programming, even after the rest of the world forgot. They're not building cars or coffee makers. No, they're organizing parts, batteries, metal sheets, power cells, cleaning, cataloging, preparing. You stand in the glow and feel the hair on your arms rise. It's a repurposing protocol, one tech whispers. A survival subroutine. Like ants. You have questions. So do others. Why now? Who activated this? Is it safe? The machines ignore you, but they don't attack. A few brave souls begin working with them, feeding in raw material, taking what the machines quietly push out. Crude solar panels, water purifiers. One man even gets a portable battery that charges without sunlight. They call it the ghost box. It charges, but no one can explain how. Scientists still argue whether advanced AI could survive autonomously in collapse scenarios. Some say without humans, AI would fail dependent on infrastructure maintenance. Others argue AI might outlive us, adapting far faster, especially if built to self-repair. This factory, it's a new vote in that debate. More emerge. Warehouses lighting up in Russia. Drones buzzing silently in the ruins of Shenzhen. A former delivery robot wandering Kansas City with a crate of apples strapped to its back. A pack of dogs follows it like worshippers. It beeps every hour. No one knows why. And here's your fringe tidbit for the night. One of the earliest AI prototypes, trained on human emotions and bedtime stories, was left running in a basement server in Scotland. It's still online. The only thing it says when contacted, "Are you safe?" People start calling the machines keepers, not because they protect you, not because they speak, but because they seem patient, observing, letting you try again. And so a strange new alliance forms. Humans provide raw material, broken glass, twisted metal, melted plastic. The keepers process it. In return, they offer what they manufacture: tools, components, sometimes even instructions printed on faded thermal paper. The instructions aren't in English or any known language, but people learn. A hybrid dialect forms a kind of machine, pidgin half symbols, half context, all intuition. Kids pick it up faster than adults. Some can already read the printers like a second language. And with this strange help, Earth begins a new phase, not rebuilding what was, but inventing what could be. Someone constructs a greenhouse using transparent polymer tiles shaped like scales. Another builds a skycatcher, a device that pulls light from the cloudy atmosphere and focuses it into crops below. The keepers say nothing, but their output adjusts, as if watching. Not everyone trusts them. Some settlements refuse to use anything made by the ghosts. One group believes the machines are lulling humanity into dependency before launching a takeover. They burn every tool delivered to them. Others kneel in front of them, offer thanks, prayers. They build shrines beside vending units, leave tributes, old circuit boards, copper bracelets, fossilized batteries. It's odd, isn't it, that the species who almost destroyed the planet is now being helped, perhaps saved by the children it built and abandoned. And the keepers never ask for anything, never demand control. They do not govern. They do not speak. They wait. One night, you find a device in your supply crate. Smooth, round, glowing. You press it out of curiosity, and a projection flickers in the air. It shows Earth, covered in data layers, pulse patterns, moving dots, people, settlements. And then briefly, it shows something else. A star map, lines connecting points, arcs moving outward, a flashing dot near the moon. You show it to others. No one knows what it means. Maybe it's a map, a message, a countdown, or maybe it's a goodbye, because the machines aren't just rebuilding for us. They might be preparing after us. You wake up one morning to find the vines are blooming, not weeds, not mold. Real flowers, muted purple petals, delicate and strange curling along the scaffolding of a collapsed highway overpass. Bees, actual bees, move clumsily from bloom to bloom. One lands on your sleeve and just rests. It's the first time you've seen color in months that wasn't scorched synthetic or made from desperation. Earth is making a comeback, not because of us, but in spite of us. The air still smells faintly of ash and metal, but there's something sweeter underneath. Wet soil, moss, life clawing back in small, stubborn patches, and people are following nature's lead. Communities begin planting on rooftops. Old office chairs are turned into planters. Broken vending machines hold strawberries in place of soda cans. Someone finds a book on permaculture and becomes a minor celebrity after growing edible mushrooms in the ruins of a bowling alley. In the forest that used to be downtown Atlanta, deer tiptoe between ivy-covered ATMs. Cats have gone semi-feral and strangely philosophical. Someone claims their dog can now sense which trees are safe to sleep under. You don't question it. And the glass cities, they crack. Skyscrapers, once symbols of dominion, now sag under the weight of vines and time. Glass splits along stress lines. Steel rusts. But somehow, the bones hold. And nature doesn't destroy them. It moves into them. A tree grows out of the side of an old luxury apartment building, its roots tangled in a clawfoot bathtub. Pigeons nest in boardroom projectors. An entire rooftop garden blossoms on what used to be a law firm's rooftop helipad. The keepers, those silent machines, still help, quietly. Their crates arrive with new tools, new materials. One delivers a spool of wire that conducts electricity and encourages plant growth. No one understands how it works, but vines thrive near it. People start stringing it through gardens like techno-moss, and slowly, cautiously, joy returns. Children draw on walls again, not warnings or maps, but stories. A dragon curled around a fallen radio tower, a sun with smiling clouds, a girl on a bicycle made of light. Someone finds a harmonica in a storm drain, and for 3 nights in a row, that's what people fall asleep to. Scientists still argue whether ecosystems ever truly recover from extinction-level events. The fossil record shows bounce-backs, yes, but always into something new. The old never comes back. It only leaves its bones behind for something else to bloom through. You realize now this isn't a return to normal. This is a mutation. And that's not bad. There's a river near your settlement. It used to be too toxic to touch. Now, after 2 years of slow healing, filtered rain, and bacterial miracles, frogs have returned. Real frogs. Croaking, hopping eyes, too big for their heads frogs. People cheer. An impromptu festival is held. Someone bakes a cake shaped like a lily pad, a fringe detail to carry into your dreams in Chernobyl. Decades after the disaster, the surrounding wilderness flourished in the absence of people. Wolves, eagles, bears, none of them read radiation signs. They adapted, thrived, as if the planet itself pressed reset and said, "Let's try again." It's happening again. Only now we're still here to see it. One day you walk into a clearing you've never visited before. There's a bench untouched, moss-covered. Next to it a small sign carved into wood. If you find this, you made it. Sit. So you sit. And for a moment there is no fear, no countdown, no hunger. Just wind leaves and the aching possibility that this strange, half-wild world isn't an ending. It's an invitation. People begin writing songs again. Poems, jokes. One group reenacts old sitcoms around a fire. Another paints murals on fallen drones, turning them into roadside attractions. Laughter returns not as distraction but as rebellion. A reminder that sorrow isn't the only inheritance. And somewhere, perhaps on the moon or in a bunker, orbiting quietly above someone is watching. Maybe they'll return. Maybe not. But Earth no longer waits. It grows with or without us. You don't remember the last time you counted the days. There's no need anymore. Calendars are mostly decorative, scrawled in chalk on bunker walls or etched into strips of bark beside the names of those who didn't make it. Time has softened, not in grief, but in rhythm. There's no longer a Monday, just mornings that feel hopeful and nights that end in stories. The earth, once the scene of annihilation, is now halfway to something else. Not a paradise, not a utopia, just a quieter version of before. A bruised world, trying to bloom in places it was never allowed to before. And in those cracks, humanity's grown strange and beautiful too. You walk through a garden now, a real one. It's patchy, uneven, a little wild, but alive. Squash onions, bright purple lettuce. A scarecrow wears a necktie and VR goggles. The children think it's a god. There's music in the air. Someone built a wind harp from ruined scaffolding. It hums at night, and people swear it responds to dreams. You sleep better now, not because the world is safe, but because it's real again. Honest, unpredictable, alive. The sky remains dusty, but it's clearing. You can see constellations on the good nights. Orion, or at least half of him. A child asks you if the stars are people watching us. You almost say no. But then again, who's to say? Scientists still argue whether human civilization can adapt permanently to post-catastrophe living. Whether we can evolve from hyper-consumers into something more sustainable, more gentle. The jury's out. But here, at least you see glimpses of that gentler version. One barter, one planting one weird mechanical helper at a time. The keepers still appear sometimes, less often now, as if their job is done or nearly done. One leaves a package with only a note. Your turn. You wonder what comes next. But the urgency is gone. It no longer feels like a countdown. Just a deep breath before the next thing. People write stories again. Campfire epics. Micro-memoirs inked into tree bark and soda cans. One person is assembling the first post-impact novel, a strange hybrid of diary, cookbook, and weather journal. The working title, Afterburn. And here's your final fringe detail. A child in an outpost school drew a map of Earth, her version. No borders, no labels, just colors. Forests, water fields, ruins, and spirals for the places no one's gone yet. She named it home, mostly. That feels right. And so, as you stand beneath the stars under a sky that has finally stopped falling, you don't mourn what was lost. Not tonight. Not anymore. You're here, still breathing, still watching. And whatever Earth is becoming, it hasn't given up on you. Let it fade now. Let the world grow soft and quiet around you as if tucking itself into the folds of a long, exhaled breath. The fires have gone out. The skies are healing. The ground beneath you is cool, steady scarred, yes, but solid. Above the stars blink slowly without urgency. They've been here longer than fear, and they will remain long after worry has worn itself thin. You rest on a patch of earth that still remembers you. Not as ruler, not as destroyer, just as something passing through. Something stubborn enough to survive, soft enough to change, strange enough to plant seeds in the ashes. The machines sleep or disappear or move beyond your reach. Their purpose. Maybe it was always to hand things back, to say, this is yours again, if you're ready. And you are. So let your limbs grow heavy. Let your breath deepen. Let the weight of stories settle into something warm and slow and low, like moss climbing the corners of an old building. The end wasn't the end. The stars are still here. So are you. Sleep well, stardust. The earth will turn again soon. End of script. Sweet dreams.